All right, let's jump right in. When most people think of the book of Revelation, their minds go to some pretty complex, intense stuff. It's famously one of the toughest books in the Bible to wrap your head around. But what if I told you that tucked away right at the very beginning, in chapters 2 and 3, things get incredibly personal? We find 7 distinct letters, and they come straight from Jesus Christ himself.
Now, these weren't just random letters. They were sent to 7 real, actual churches back in what we now call Turkey. And according to our source material for this explainer, a commentary by Chuck Missler, these are way more than just ancient mail. You can almost think of them as a divine performance review, a report card, if you will. So the big question is, what can a report card from 2,000 years ago possibly tell us today?
Well, the central argument from the source is that these 7 letters aren't just a single message. Nope, they contain a multi-layered message that goes way, way beyond the original folks who read them.
To really get the full picture, the source says we need a kind of interpretive framework, a key you could call it, that's designed to unlock each of these layers. It's this key that's supposed to transform these ancient letters into something that is profoundly relevant for us.
So, this framework is the tool that really gets the job done. It's what takes these letters from being just historical documents and turns them into something with real, ongoing significance. Let's break down exactly how it's supposed to work.
Okay, so here's the core idea, this 4-step process. Think of it like looking at the same thing through 4 different lenses. First, each letter had a local meaning. It was sent to a real church with real people in a real city. Simple enough. Second, it's admonitory. It contains lessons and warnings for all churches throughout all of time. Third, it gets personal. It's speaking directly to you, to me, to any individual who reads it. And finally, this is the one that's a real game changer. It's prophetic. And that prophetic level is just fascinating. The source proposes that if you lay these 7 churches out in the exact order they appear, they create an uncanny map of the major eras of church history. It starts with the Apostolic Church of Ephesus, goes through the brutal persecution of Smyrna, the rise of the state church, all the way to the Reformation and the great missionary movement represented by Philadelphia. The argument is that specific order is absolutely not an accident.
So, theory is one thing, but how does this key actually work when you put it to the test? Let's take this whole framework and apply it to one of the most remarkable letters of the 7, the one written to the church in Philadelphia.
The letter to Philadelphia it stands out, big time. While most of the other churches get this mix of, hey, you're doing great at this, but you really need to fix that, Philadelphia's review, it's almost entirely positive.
And what's so powerful about this slide is that number right there, 0. That's how many problems, how many criticisms Jesus has for this church. It's a perfect score, a flawless report card. And that is totally unique among the 7 letters.
So instead of critiques, what do we get? Just praise. Pure commendation. Jesus praises them for having an open door, which is seen as a huge opportunity for outreach. He praises them for being faithful even though they only have a little strength. And, crucially, they've kept his word, and they have not denied his name.
Now, getting a perfect score isn't just about a pat on the back. It's the setup. It's the prerequisite for one of the most specific and frankly staggering promises in the entire book of Revelation. And it has huge implications.
And this promise of escape, it isn't just for that little church back in ancient Turkey. According to the source, this very promise becomes a cornerstone for a major school of thought on how the end times are going to play out.
And here it is, the promise itself. Because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. Now, the source material zooms in and puts an incredible amount of weight on one tiny little word in that sentence. And that little word is ek. It's the original Greek preposition used here. And the argument is that ek doesn't just mean to protect someone while they are in a dangerous situation. No, it implies a complete removal, literally being taken out of it. So this lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? You've got 2 fundamentally different ways to see this promise. Is Jesus saying, hey, things are going to get bad, but I'll keep you safe during it all? Or is he saying, things are about to get bad, so I'm pulling you out of there before it even starts? Based on that Greek word, the source argues forcefully for the second option, removal.
And that is why this matters so much. This specific reading of the text, this idea of a removal out of the hour of trial, is presented as one of the most powerful biblical arguments for what's known as the pre-tribulation rapture. That's the belief that the church will be taken off the earth before that final, intense period of judgment begins.
So, okay, let's take a step back.
When you put all the pieces together, what does this whole interpretive framework really show us? What's the big takeaway?
Well, according to the source, this 4-level key does something amazing. It takes 7 ancient letters written to tiny churches and reframes them as this comprehensive blueprint. It's presented as a map that doesn't just explain the past, but it also defines the state of the church today and gives us a peek into the future.
But in the end, the source brings it all back to that personal level. If these ancient letters really are a kind of divine report card, a mirror held up to both churches and individuals all through history, then the final question it leaves us with is a deeply personal one. What does that mirror reflect when you look into it?